What's up, you guys? Welcome to my workout. Today is February 19th, 2024. This is my actual workout. It's short, and because it's my workout, it's not meant to be a tutorial, an instructional, nor a recommendation to do as I'm doing. A lot of the things I do are dangerous and maybe not recommended to others. So please keep that in mind. On the breaks, I do try to explain what I'm doing and why, in the hopes that it could be, at least in concept, helpful to some of you. And oh, by the way, today is day 9 of peptide therapy, and my joints are kind of feeling all the same. In fact, what I'm going to do today, I'm doing because I've been seated most of this day at a computer, which I don't normally do. So I'm extra tight and I'm extra sore and I'm extra stiff and everything. So I'm going to be using a lunge along with a movement I call an orbit. It's similar to what's known as a halo, but I call it an orbit for a different reason. I'll explain why in a moment. Anyway, why don't we get started? And yeah, I'll show you how. I'll show you what the reality of the videos I post to social media. Those tend to only show the good parts of the workout, like the last minute or two. What you don't see is the 20 or 30 minutes working up to that, where I am just, well, you'll see. Okay, so the lunge to me is a primary mobility exercise. Squat and deadlift are great for building horsepower, building a strong engine. But to me, the lunge is actually something that appears more like and occurs more in real life than, for me, squats and deadlifts. So what I'm doing right now is I'm warming up my big toe. I've said in other videos that it's more important to me to have strong big toes, arches of my feet and calves. That is more important to me than having strong quads or a big bench press. The feet and the toes, as well as the grip and the jaw and the neck, are very important. Over the years, I've really battered my right big toe. I've broken it and jammed it into things, so it's now pretty reluctant into extension. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just activating muscles and connective tissue that just allow me to maintain the mobility of my big toe in extension under load. So if I lose the mobility and the functionality of my big toe, and my toes for that matter, I feel like it quickly translates upstream into my ankles, my knees, and everything else. So maintaining this ability, there we go, finally got my knee to the floor. Also, as I'm doing this, my left knee also has some damage to it in the lateral area, so I'm also warming that up as well. Most of my weight is on my right leg. It is not on the front leg. I am basically focusing on lowering my right kneecap down to the floor and bearing most of the load into the arches of my feet, my calves, and to a lesser degree my quads and hip flexors. Okay. I have nerve damage to both my feet from chemotherapy I received in 2012. It did peripheral nerve damage to my toes and my fingertips. My fingers are pretty good, but my feet, the circulation and the nerves in my feet continue to be a little bit of a trick. All right. So on my left toe, my left big toe, I haven't broken that one anywhere as many times as I have my right. So the mobility in that toe is much better. But the left knee, lowering, because once again, I'm placing most of my weight and my intention on controlling my descent into this lunge on this left leg. There's a lot of communication going on between my toes, the arches of my feet, my calves, even my tibialis anterior. Definitely feeling my quadriceps and my hip flexors. Ooh, wow. Okay, so my left knee, it caught up there, and probably because I let my hip roll out to the side, which put a twist into my knee. So once again, the way I like to do a lunge, both for as an exercise and as a functional mobility exercise, I want to make sure that my shoulders and my hip bones are always squared strictly forward, because it's a very natural, as I descend, for my hip to want to rotate, for this hip bone to want to run out to the side, and that's going to now put a twist on my knee and run me into the compromised parts of it. So if I keep, catch right there. If I keep my chest stacked right over my hips, keep those hip bones very square. Don't let this, keep this knee right here. It wants to run out to the side, and I'm very much on the ball of my big toe and that long skinny toe right next to it. Now I'm using both these legs because there's a point right around here coming up. You see that shake? So that's when other guys have to jump in to smooth that area out. Okay, there might actually be divots in the connective tissue in that range of motion, but the body is neuromuscularly very adaptable if you give it time to figure out how to reorganize itself around a compromised joint. In most cases, it can do that. The key is not to overdo that. So this is right now, this is my squat. I would like to go lower, and not so long ago, I used to be able to get right down there, no problem, with no warm up, but things change. So, but the thing that I will not do is, because my joints get stiff and achy and they're reluctant to go places where they used to go freely, I still make them go there, but I make sure that I progress it. I don't force them or rush them to go into a range of motion that they don't want to go into, because then they won't trust me. And I could also actually irritate or exacerbate an injury or a damaged area. Okay. This, as big and bad as it looks, it's hollow. 12 kilo, 26 pound kettlebell. Okay, now we're just gonna do a goblet lunge. The load is helpful. This is not here to make this harder. This actually makes it easier, because it now, in order for me to enter this position with this additional weight stacked where it is, I have to recruit additional musculature. And that is oftentimes helpful in actually protecting or diverting stress away from some of the joint surfaces that might not like this at body weight. That's why there's a lot of people that can squat and lift large amounts of weight with barbells and dumbbells and kettlebells. But then, like me, when you have them do a body weight squat, all the gremlins come out. You can see truly that the actual functionality of their system is maybe not what it would appear. That's one of the big tricks. A lot of us think that if we're strong under load, then it doesn't matter if unloaded, we can't really do things. But I believe That's what gets a lot of people tricked into overuse injuries or outright acute injuries. So with this additional weight, because more muscular or motor units are being recruited in my knee area as well as my lower leg, this is actually more comfortable for me to do. My knee is more stable with the addition of the load. By the way, if you're new to exercise or you've been away for a while and you're wanting to restart it, the lunges, gentle, graduated lunges, where you don't try to look like the guy in the video, you don't try to look like the guy next to you in the boot camp. If they're charging all the way down and all the way up, and right now all you can control is right here, but you're beautiful and you're perfect there, that's the best place for you to be. Stay there, because if you honor that for a while, your body will trust you to start going lower, and it'll let you, by increasing its neuromuscular pathways into the muscles right now that are telling you not to go to that level. All right, let's go one more time here. Now I'm going to stack myself a little more strictly, trying to get my chest over my pelvis, double X posture, extended spine, expanded chest, double compression breath, making sure my hip bones are squared forward. And that felt good. One more time. That breathing method, it allows me to perform a protracted or a long repetition, and one that takes many seconds without running out of air. That second breath also allows me to restabilize myself for the bottom portion where I actually need the most stability. I'll go one more time on the right side, and then we're going to add the orbit. When I set up for a lunge, especially with weight in my hand, I don't just step back, because then I might lose my balance. Whether you have weight in your hand or not, it's helpful. If I'm going to step back with my right leg from a bent knee posture, I'm going to shift my weight over to my left, I should easily be able to lift my right leg, or the leg I'm going to step back with. I even bring this weight over or slightly outside my left side, because as this weight goes backwards, I'm at the weight of my right leg, and now I had to struggle for balance a little bit, and that is exactly why I like the lunge, because of the multi-directional demands that are placed on you when you split your stance like this. Okay, so I'm going to hold this high posture. The goal is for me to mobilize my big toe. It is not to get all the way down. If I happen to get there, good for me. Here we go. That was nice. One more time. You might notice there's some shaking going on in both my legs. Shaking is good. The more you shake, the better. Don't stop doing an exercise just because you're shaking out of control. If it's pain that's causing you to shake, I agree, bail and reevaluate what you're doing. But if it's just neuromuscular confusion, think of that as education. When your muscles are shaking, they're not quite sure who's supposed to do what with what's going on and the weight that's entering the system. But they learn. Like as I'm talking to you right now, my nervous system is figuring out a better way of doing this. That's why these reps are getting better. When I first started, everything hurt, and I'm not doing anything that hurts. I will poke the dragon. I'll go right up to the point where it kind of hurts, but I'll always back off. And then on the next set, I'll explore a possibly deeper range of motion, but that's only if my system tells me that's okay. I'm not going to force it to do anything because I've been doing that for over 50 years, and I don't need to prove anything to myself or my body anymore. Now, if you're younger, though, you might want to take that with a grain of salt, because I'm all for young people testing themselves and hitting it. So, anyway. Okay, the orbit. I'm just going to do one on each side, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. Okay, I call this an orbit. A halo tends to look like this. It tends to be an arm-driven movement where whatever the weight, kettlebell, whatever, is kind of orbiting or haloing, as the name implies, above the head. Those are fine. Do them all day if you want to. But I get a little bit more out of what I call an orbit, where I attach this kettlebell to my torso, my rib cage, by resting my arm, or what I call side mounting the weight here, so I can hold it here. You know, this is not stressful. As long as my forearm is vertical, I'm cool. All right. Now from here, I'm going to hold on with my other arm. This is my right shoulder. This is my bad shoulder. This is hard for me to do. I'm going to lift my elbow and do what it takes to try to align my forearms straight across like a propeller, but without taking my right arm off of the side of my body. So from here, I've now opened up the right side lateral core compartment of my body, and I've also created a gap right here with slightly bent knees. I'm not driving this back behind me with my arms. I'm moving my rib cage so gravity pulls this bell behind me. Okay, now I'm supporting it with my legs and my abs, and now I'm gonna lift the left side of my body, of my rib cage, and land my right arm on the side of my rib cage, and then I'll tilt my rib cage and the bell is gonna fall back into place. Okay, so one more time. Double X posture, extended spine, expanded rib cage. I'm going to squeeze my right upper arm against my body, use my left arm to side mount this bell. I should be able to let go of this weight, and it sits here because it's balanced and aligned on my forearm. Now I lift my elbow, stretching the left core compartment, trying to see if I can align my forearms with each other. Slight bend in my knee to protect my low back. I'm going to limbo myself back. Let the bell roll into position. Now I'm shifting weight to my left leg as I'm stretching the right side of my body, moving my rib cage, so this bell will now roll into position. So the object for me when I'm doing that is to keep that bell, all parts of it, underneath the top of my head. It should never go above my head. And I'm also, no part of that bell should ever touch my head. I'm trying to create a large enough circumference around my head to accomplish that. The purpose of the orbit, and what I think gives it a lot of value, and it I think addresses a need that is not either understood, or I shouldn't say understood. It's not the concept of what I call the joystick core. You know how a joystick controller on a video game, you can twist and turn it in all different directions. A lot of core exercises are either sagittal plane, frontal plane, or transverse plane, but they don't address all of the things that happen in between those areas. So what the orbit does is it trains your core to have the integrity of a joystick. What if your joystick controller was only good north, south, east, and west, and as soon as you shove it like northeast or southwest or whatever, it snaps and breaks? Like, okay, so that's why people that roll in jiu-jitsu, they're always being challenged in that way. You get pounded in the surf and you're getting churned. Your body's getting twisted and joysticked all over the place. So, and that happens everywhere. You even slip, you have your foot go out, whatever. There's always twisting and torsional forces that if 360 degrees of this, if there's any deficiencies there, well, life will find that, and woe is you. So let's go one more time. Actually, it's getting dark. I gotta kind of put this all together here. So now we're gonna take two wonderful exercises, a static lunge orbit. So I'm gonna lower myself here, because another thing about lunging, a lot of people do them, but they might not do static lunges. And the value of these cannot be understated. Oof, 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 oof. Wow. Okay, so on that, it's strange. I wasn't moving in my lunge, but as that load shifted around me, and I can't quite do the full joystick in that position, so I do have to arm drive the bell a little bit. But as my body just shifted in that position, I could feel the parts of my left knee that are a little beat up. They didn't like that too much. So normally I'd like to go the other direction today. I'm not going to do that maybe. All right. Okay. All right, let's see what this right big toe wants to do. That feels pretty good, so I think we can go the other way. Slowly push out. Okay. Oh, by the way, as I was doing that, I was getting caught up on this odd little hump in my forehead. This is my microphone. You notice I don't really sweat hard enough to justify a sweatband, but this is my Rode microphone. It's the only way I can get a mic on me like this without that goofy looking lavalier that I used to use with a cord. That sucked. All right, I'm gonna try one more time on the left side. Hopefully my neuromuscular system has figured out a better way for me to do that. And if not, then that'll be okay. All right, let's go one more time. That's so far much better. Before it was just clicking and shifting. Right here. Okay, now it's starting to get pissed off. So I better, okay, now here. Hip is running away, so I'm gonna dial that hip under, push with my foot, since my quad doesn't want to go. And now I'm out. All right. That might be another video, because that wasn't the point today. I'm so stiff today. I don't think I deserve to do the infinity lunge, but I'm just gonna throw down a few, because being able to lunge slowly, to hold the static position in the lunge and to come up slowly, that's good. But real life comes at me a lot faster than that, so all the movements that I practice slow and strict and precise, I also need to be able to absorb and attenuate the force of those exercises at a higher speed. Otherwise, I'm still prone to injury and compromise. So let's just try a few. Plus, it just loosens, gets me to ooh, right on left knee. So if you guys have seen me do that exercise with bigger kettlebells with some dramatic music to it, this is what it looks like before those few glory reps that I post to my social media. And I always kind of felt like I was full of shit for doing that, so this is like my confessional. I want you to see what the reality of this is on everything I do. By the way, if you're still here, thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, I think maybe we'll go, I don't think we need to do any more of that, because feeling good. All right. Now, when I usually do a unilateral exercise that has so many moving parts to it, like the type of lunge I showed you combined with an orbit, I always like to come back to center with everybody's favorite, the goblet squat. So I'll just do a few of these. I'm gonna take a wider than normal stance so I can just stretch out. A little tip on the goblet squat: if you actually hold it like a goblet, there's a natural tendency for your elbows to be out to the side. Try this. Try to make your forearms parallel with each other, or your elbows even inside of your wrists, and then make your double X posture. Extended spine, expanded rib cage. So you have a very long lever, and now this is stacked more strictly over your core. Then take your double compression. You will feel this going to so many new places without having to add any weight. I'm stretching with that, I'm not conditioning with it, so 2 of those was enough. All right. By the way, I was talking about being able to produce and absorb energy quickly, and in some of the videos I post, I'm throwing what appear to be karate kicks, and I no longer do karate. I don't fight with people anymore. I'm too old and I'm too nice, but I still like to practice. Like right now, just real light kicks, because there are chains of muscles, especially in like side kicks, roundhouse kicks, literal chains of muscles that they might work well in movements like squats, lunges, you know, even in running, but these kicks, I feel, establish intelligent chains of kinetic capacity in the sides of the body. And going back to that joystick, like a roundhouse kick, I mean, how do you say what is being, or how do you say what's not being used in just trying to, like, I'm not gonna throw the kick because I feel that if I threw the kick, I would overextend my knee and that would hurt. So I'm just, but just these movement patterns. And more important than generating this is being able to stop it without that extra energy pulling me off my base, and then coming back to my base. That's why in a lot of these kicks, I try not to move my hands too much, because I want to see truly how loose I am on the kick and how well I can reabsorb that energy and return to my base without having to counterbalance with my arms. And that's just an excuse for me throwing sucky kicks as well. Anyway, I think we're done. And if you're still here now, you're a superhero. Thank you very much, and much aloha. Bye.